Right, here we go. Here we go. Let's add Bryony in. Is that going to work? Just waiting for Bryony to join. Hello, everyone else. Lots of people
Hello.
joining. There we go. She's there.
We made it work.
We made it work. Yay. How are you doing, Bryony?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. And hello to everyone else who's joining as well. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so for those of you who don't know us that well, this is Bryony. Bryony is a journalist and has Crohn's disease and has also just had Covid-19 or suspected Covid-19, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Clemmy. I'm a nutritionist specialising in helping people with IBD, and I also have ulcerative colitis myself. So we thought that we know, and we've seen, both of us through our followers and through my clients who I work with and through various forums, how worried everyone is about what's going on and about having IBD and what that means at this time. So we thought that it would be a really nice thing to share Bryony's experience, having just been through it, to hopefully share some positivity and to basically, I suppose, help to put your mind at rest at least a little bit, hearing someone's story who has already been through it. So I guess, Bryony, if you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, of course.
And a bit about your journey really with Crohn's.
Yeah, so it's been a long old journey. I was diagnosed when I was 4, and it sort of just came on quite suddenly, like lots of the really, hideous IBD symptoms in terms of losing blood and spending a lot of time in the bathroom, lots of pain, and kind of from that diagnosis, it was just kind of like a domino effect through my childhood of lots of different medications. So I did prednisolone, I did elemental diet, I did infliximab, azathioprine, mesalazine, suppositories, like anything that you could list, I did it. And then around the age of 12, it got to the point where it was there was no more medications to try, nothing was working, and my large bowel was kind of past the point of repair. So I had a subtotal colectomy when I was 12, and lived with an ileostomy through my teenage years until I was 16, and then I had a reversal. And then since then, my Crohn's has gone to sort of my rectum and the join. So now I'm in a whole new phase of trying different medications, biologics. At the moment, I'm on Stellara, also known as Tekinumab, which I can never say, but and I'm on 90 milligrams of that every 8 weeks. And I'm also on budesonide steroids at the moment. I'm actually in the process of tapering off, so I'm just on 6 milligrams a day at the moment. So yeah, in terms of COVID, I am quite firmly in the sort of moderate to high risk category because of the meds that I'm on.
Okay, and I guess next thing is to ask you how you've been or how you felt when the whole coronavirus came about, and then when you found out that you were in that high risk category, how did you feel about that? And like many people watching, perhaps they'll have similar feelings, so it'd just be interesting to hear how you felt.
Yeah, it's a weird one, I think, because I pretty much, and I'm sure lots of people who are watching and can relate to this, and you probably can as well, living with IBD, I have probably been walking around immunosuppressed like almost my entire life. I can't really remember a time, like I've rarely ever been medication free. I've always been on some sort of biologic or some sort of steroid or something. So, and I've never really worried too much about what I could potentially be picking up. So to then be told that literally because of the medication you're on, you're in the high risk category, it just took me quite a while to get my head around it. And it's one of those odd things as well, is that it's the medication that puts you in the high risk rather than anything else. And I know there was like a really big discussion when this kind of, when Corona was all kicking off about whether people should come off their medication. And I sought advice from my doctor, and I know that Crohn's and colitis put out similar advice, which was basically saying, if you come off your medication, you're at risk of a flare, and if you're at risk, if you get a flare, then that also puts you at high risk. So I guess it's just kind of a catch-22, and it just was quite I'm sure lots of people can relate to this in terms of, it was like a bit of a roller coaster of emotions about how I felt about it. And then, do I need to shield? Do I need to, like, how careful do I need to be? Do I need to stop leaving the house? Does my partner need to stop leaving the house? Like, there's just, there was a lot of questions that were being raised, and kind of the information was kind of a bit like drip, 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 drip. So I guess my anxiety was pretty high. And I'm sure that is the same for many people in a similar situation.
Yeah, I think I've definitely seen on the forums, and I've had quite a few clients get in touch with me and say that they're experiencing a flare-up of symptoms because they have been so worried and anxious about it. So I think it's a lot of us are all in the same boat in that respect.
Yeah.
So I guess the next thing is to ask a bit more about what your experience has been, because I think it was only probably a week or so ago, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, that you kind of felt like you were getting over your COVID experience. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah.
And how that came about, and then your journey through it and what your experience was?
Yeah. So we only came out. I only left the house for the first time in 16 days yesterday. So it's been quite a journey. So it started about 2 weeks ago. What day is it? So Tuesday. So about 2 weeks ago yesterday, and I had actually just moved into a new house, which was all just a bit mad. So it was just a bit of a weird, stressful time anyway. And I just was working, and I just didn't feel quite right. I just felt really hot and felt really cold, and I was like, maybe I just haven't really nailed the heating in this house. And I kept taking my jumper on and off, and just didn't feel quite right. And then when I went to bed that night, I just, like, my fever just, like, my temperatures went through the roof. I just was like literally lying in a pool of sweat. That's really minging, but that is the reality of the situation. I don't think I've had a fever like it. And then it was just, I woke up the next day and I was just like inexplicably exhausted. Like, obviously having IBD, we're all used to fatigue, but this was kind of like, the closest I can liken it is like post-op fatigue, as in you literally, everything hurts, like you can't really open your eyes. When you do, everything is really like you feel really disorientated. And even then I was like, I don't know if this is what I think it is. I'm hoping it's just a fever. I'm hoping maybe it's the flu. And then I got a bit of a cough. I wouldn't say cough was my main symptom. It was dry, like my throat was dry and it was tickly, but it wasn't like I wasn't like hacking coughing, which I know some people who have been. But the fatigue was just, so I was just basically sleeping all day. Really, I wasn't actually moving. I felt really sick, really, really sick, and it was hard. I don't know if that was a symptom or a side effect of having a fever. And then a few days into it, when I had like started to move around, and I didn't have enough energy really to have a shower, but I was like, it's been a few days, I probably should shower. And it was when I was standing in the shower, I realised I couldn't, like, I realised I was running out of breath, and I was like, I'm lucky I have a very good pair of lungs. I haven't really had pneumonia when I was maybe like 5 years old, but I've got good airways. And I was like, I'm struggling to get my breath here. So I had to get out of the shower. And then I walked up the stairs, and by the time I got to the top of the stairs, I had to sit at the top step, and I literally just couldn't get my breath. And it was that moment where I was like, okay, this is really not right.
Something going on.
There's something going on here, and as much as I can pretend that this isn't what I think it is, it feels like COVID, and the symptoms are pointing to that. So it was at that point I called 111. And I actually didn't get a letter from the NHS saying that I was high risk. So, and I know that on that letter it says, as soon as you get symptoms, call 111. But but because I wasn't really sure and I hadn't had that letter, so I didn't have those clear instructions just for me. I wasn't sure what point was the right time. But when you can't breathe, when you've had a shower, that is quite a clear heads up that that's the right time. I waited on the phone for 2 hours on hold to get through to 111. But I did the online test first and answered all the questions, and it said it will take you a long time, but you must speak to someone. So I just waited. I actually just had the whole music there, and I was just sleeping. And then I saw on my phone it said 2 hours, and then someone answered, and I came round, and I spoke to a really lovely call handler who, 111 don't necessarily offer medical.
I think you might have frozen, Bryony. Your video is a tiny bit blurry. I think it might be your...
Oh, I've got full bars on my Wi-Fi.
Oh.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Yeah.
Your screen's just frozen though.
Oh, that's weird. Shall I try and reconnect and start again?
Do we think that is... Yeah.
Is that working?
You just moved. I don't know if anyone else has experienced. Someone's just commented that the video is a bit blurry, and I can see that it's a bit blurry as well.
Should I try rejoining? It's difficult because I've got full bars. I can't see, but I also want people to be able to hear me.
Yeah.
Should I try rejoining?
Yeah. Do that.
No, I don't know.
Hang on. Someone's saying can hear you, but just can't see you. Also for me, but I can hear. Someone's saying carry on. We can hear, but it's okay. Can hear but can't see.
Okay, let me try and leave and rejoin and just see if
we might works. Try leaving and rejoining. So everyone just stay there.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, hopefully then Bryony can rejoin us. How did I do it the first time? Oh, here we go. Let's try and add her in again and see how we go. Sorry about this, technical hitches. There you go, that's so much better. Hopefully, everyone, you can see Bryony again.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't worry.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so you were on the phone for 2 hours.
Oh yeah, so I was waiting for 2 hours, and I spoke to a lovely call handler, and she was like, "You definitely need to speak to a doctor, and we'll get you're on a list now, and a GP will call you back." And he called me back in I think it was about 8 hours later. I actually can't imagine how busy they were, and I was so grateful to get a call. And he just rang me. He asked me again what my symptoms were. He asked me to take my temperature and I didn't actually have a thermometer at that point, because trying to get hold of a thermometer was like a task on itself. They were all sold out everywhere.
Everyone got their hands on one, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. And then he basically said, the way that your symptoms have developed and the way that you're feeling, it definitely points to corona. And he just said, if you feel like your breathing is getting any worse, you need to get to hospital immediately. And he also said this was potentially just in my local area, but he said the waiting time for an ambulance is really significant. So if you need to come to hospital, you just need to get your partner to drive you here. And I said, well, how do I know my breathing is getting worse? It feels horrible at this time, but how do I know it's getting worse? And he just said, can you get to the top of the stairs? And I said, yes, it's difficult, but yes. And he said, okay, well, if you start having to stop on stair 8 or stair 7, or you can only get halfway up, then that is the sign that there is a deterioration. And I was lucky, really, that my symptoms, that was kind of the worst point, and then it kind of plateaued, and then I actually just started to get better. But I was really impressed, because the 111 GP that called me after called me again 2 days later, and I hadn't asked for that, and just rang to check up on me, and said, and by that point my fever had lifted. So we were probably on about day 8 when my fever lifted. So it's a long time to feel quite awful for.
Rubbish.
My fever lifted, and he said, that's really good news, Bryony. It sounds like you're on the up. But he said, his words were, don't get too excited, because COVID has a pattern of coming back round in the second week, and we're seeing patients most commonly being admitted in the second week of the illness. So he was like, just don't get too excited and rush back to work and think that you're invincible. And I was like, okay. And yeah, it was just, and then after that, my fever lifted, the breathlessness started to get better. I managed, I could walk up the stairs a bit easier. I could stand in the shower for longer. And then the only thing that sort of lingered now is the fatigue, which again, it's kind of hard to know what is IBD and what is still the virus, because obviously with all the medications that I'm on and kind of where my Crohn's is right now, I kind of always live with a low level of fatigue. But yeah, that was the journey, and I was really impressed with the way that the NHS dealt with it, the way that 111 dealt with it, the fact that he called me back, that was amazing. I couldn't have asked for more. And yeah, I guess I'm quite lucky that I didn't need to go to hospital, and I think I didn't share any of what was going on at the time on Instagram because I knew how anxious people were, and I knew how anxious I felt when the symptoms started to come on, and even before the symptoms came on, I was anxious about getting it, and I didn't want to share anything as it was going on because I didn't know how it was going to pan out, and I didn't want anyone else to be, I don't know, seeing it. You can just scroll and see something and it makes you worry. So but when I did come out the other side, I felt quite strongly that sharing it would be a positive thing, because if I had seen someone else go through it and I'd seen that they were on similar medications to me and they were immunocompromised and they'd come out the other side, I would have felt really comforted in that. And I hadn't really seen anything like that when I started getting the symptoms. So I guess it's one of those things that I didn't go to hospital, so I didn't have a test, so I can only be 95% sure that I had it. But yeah, it's a tricky virus.
Yeah. And did you experience a flare up of your Crohn's symptoms while you had COVID-19?
Yeah, that's such an interesting question. I no, I didn't. I did lose my appetite. Yeah, I did lose my appetite quite significantly because I just was so hot and tired and felt sick. But no, everything in that department was just pretty much the same. So I guess that's good. Obviously, it's just my experience. I don't know, because there is, I know there's a database of people who have documented positive COVID-19 and with IBD, and I don't know if other people have experienced that, but no, like everything, that wasn't a main concern, which is good.
Okay. And since then, since you've been feeling better, it's really the fatigue, is it? That's there hasn't been a kind of an after effect on your Crohn's symptoms or anything like that?
No. At this point as well, just as I'm actually tapering down my steroids, that it all kind of seemed to happen at the same time. So, and I don't know how other people get on with their different medications, but I tend to have a bit of a pattern of relapsing when I start coming down lower steroids. So, there's been some symptoms, like some pain and stuff that has come back, but I don't think that is related to the virus. I think it's the medication. But yeah, the fatigue is it just kind of lingers, and I've spoken to a few friends who think that they've had it as well and had very serious similar symptoms, and they have found that the fatigue just kind of lingers for a while. Okay. But I guess it's just your body, your body's never experienced anything like this before, so it just takes some time to get back to the status quo it was beforehand, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think it's just allowing yourself, as I'm sure you are, to just chill and allow your body to take that time.
Yeah, definitely.
To kind of relax and recuperate.
Yeah, and it's not my strong point, but I'm working on it.
I'm the same. I find it so hard to switch off and whatever, but and I talk all the time to people about how we need to listen to our bodies and take those cues that it sends us, because it is really clever and it'll tell us exactly what it needs. We just need to listen.
Yeah.
But I'm not potentially the best at taking my own advice.
No, me neither.
This, I guess now I wanted to kind of go on to, I know that you've been posting some really lovely stuff on your Instagram to help to kind of boost morale, I suppose, and keep everyone's spirits high during this time. You've been doing a one lovely thing. And I want to, I guess, kind of find out a bit more about that from you, and a bit about what you've been doing to help keep yourself sane, I suppose, during this time. Yeah. And what really have been the most helpful things for you?
It's such a weird time where we're sort of all thrown into the situation where we have to keep ourselves busy, but we can't leave the house, and there's a lot going on that we haven't got any control over. I guess I've just tried to channel how I have dealt with operations, and how, because you know that when you have a really big operation, the recovery for that time is kind of like being in isolation in a way, because you can't really do much, you can't really go anywhere. And some of the operations that I've had, I've been, you know, recovering for 8, 10, 12 weeks sometimes. And I do have coping mechanisms for that. And I've always found, weirdly, when you have a big op like that, I've always found the recovery more challenging on my mental health, because that is what, it can be quite lonely and it can be quite isolating, and you kind of get a bit of FOMO. And so I've kind of been trying to channel what I've been doing in those circumstances, which is read. I find reading I read a lot of trashy fiction, and also because I'm a journalist, that's my day job.
That's what I've been doing.
Yeah. I'm just fully, when I'm at work, I'm just fully immersed in coronavirus all day, every day, and I just have to just read something really mindless. So I do that a lot. I do meditation. I don't have like a fixed routine of doing it, but it is in kind of like my toolbox, I guess, of ways to sort of relax. And if I feel like I'm getting a bit anxious or a bit stressed, then I will kind of use those tools. I would say routine normally, but because we just moved house and then I got the virus, I wouldn't say I've had any sort of level of routine. And then the one lovely thing was just kind of about finding tiny things in the day that kind of can lift your mood. Whether that be having a cup of tea, or eating your favourite biscuit, or buying yourself a bunch of flowers when we were allowed to go out and buy things in a normal way. Just little things, little things that can kind of boost your mood, and focusing on the fact that this will end, and it's just more about taking every day as it comes, and whatever is going to help on that one particular day. And I guess also just letting yourself feel what you need to feel, because, you know, we're in completely uncharted territory, and there's no right way to feel about it. Like, you don't have to suddenly write a novel or become a great painter, or, you know, just do what makes you happy. And if that is just taking it slow and reading a trashy book and watching Kim Kardashian, then, you know, you do you. And it's just finding the joy in those little things.
I think that's a really interesting point, actually.
Yeah.
I think that you there's so much out there of here, learn a degree or whatever while you're on lockdown, or do this or do that, or learn an instrument, or do this or do that we're under quite a lot of pressure to use this time usefully, and where I think that can be really, really positive, and it can definitely have positive connotations. I think it can also just add to the anxiety as well, can't it? And it can just make people feel more anxious, that they feel pressure that they should be doing something and they're not, and actually just taking each day can be definitely the most helpful way to do it. And I don't know if you felt the same way, but some days I've woken up and felt really good and really productive and really kind of okay about everything and accepting of it all. And then some days I've just woken up and thought and felt so overwhelmed by it all. And actually on those days when you're getting bombarded with all these things about being really productive and changing your life, basically, that can just seem a little much, actually.
Yeah, 100%. You know, all this stuff about learn a new language, or you know, you just do what you need to do to kind of get through it. Sounds really negative, but essentially we are all getting through this. And especially if you have IBD, especially if you have a chronic illness like this, time isn't easy. Like being worried about if you might get it, worried about everything else that everyone else is worrying about, and then also worrying about what is happening with treatment otherwise. I'm sure I'm not alone in the fact that I've had some things cancelled as part of my treatment, and I don't really know what is going to happen next, and I'm just trying not to worry about that and just focus on tomorrow and the next day. It's kind of just like putting one foot in front of the other. And yeah, just it's a bit, I suppose it's a bit cliche, one lovely thing but it's just finding some sort of
I think it's great.
happiness in the really small things, which is what we, you know, when you have a chronic illness, you have to do that sometimes.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny, I think I've seen a lot of things about how people with IBD are saying, but we've been in lockdown with when we have flare-ups anyway. So we're kind of old hand at this, not seeing people and not being able to go out and whatever. But something I want to come back to something that you said, which I think is really interesting, which is about what you have in your toolbox. And I thought that was a really lovely thing that you said, and I think that's really important, and something to kind of take away from this, I guess, is that you don't have to do things all day, every day, or whatever, or things really regularly, although that can help with things like meditation. But having things that you know help you, so when you wake up and you have those days where you're not feeling quite yourself, or when you're going through stressful periods, having things that you know really work for you to help manage that and to help control that, and having that toolbox of stuff that you know you can go to, and that having that kind of safety there, I think is really a really important point.
Yeah, and I on the meditation, because I did a meditation course. I've done a couple sort of over the years, and whenever I go, it's very much like, and you have to meditate for 20 minutes twice a day, otherwise it's not going to work. And I kind of at the beginning was like, well, I can't commit to that 20 minutes twice a day. Who has that much time? Which is obviously the opposite point, because you should just make time. But what I've done is just adopt those methods and remember that, and then I just use it when I need to, and actually that really works for me. And it means I don't feel any pressure to have to do it at a certain time every single day. But like you said, I use it when I need it, and at the moment I need it a lot, and that is working, and it's really great. So yeah, toolboxes are important, I think.
That's really important. And carry on. Sorry. Even if you're in your toolbox.
No, I was just gonna say, even if in your toolbox it's like a face mask and a chocolate bar and Gossip Girl, then that's a great toolbox.
Exactly. No, I totally agree with you. And it doesn't need to, I think it's funny, the kind of self-care, self-care has become a bit of a trendy phrase. And I think people think that you need to go on expensive spa days and I don't know, spend money to do, but self-care is simply eating nutritious food, drinking water, going for a walk, watching your favorite movie or whatever. Someone said, please can I ask a question? Of course, ask a question.
Yeah, I was going to say,
go for it as we go through. Definitely. That's something actually I should have said at the beginning. Please ask any questions that you want, and we'll go through them as we go. Sorry, I should have said that at the beginning.
No, it's all right. Just got straight into it.
But yeah, I think I lost my train of thought now. But yeah, I think having those kind of the self-care thing it's become really trendy, and you think it needs to be expensive and hard work, and it really doesn't have to be. It really doesn't have to be. It's little things that you can do just to help support yourself, and it doesn't need to be really hard and expensive. Oh, are you still there, Bryony?
Yeah, I'm still here. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. Can you still hear me?
Okay. Oh, you're still a little bit blurry,
This one.
but we can still hear you.
I know it's just not. Shall I? I
Uh,
don't want to keep leaving again. I'm gonna bore the audience, but
no, it's cool, it's cool.
it's
Okay,
so annoying.
I'm gonna go through the questions.
Okay.
So, um, okay. Someone said I'm in the same. Nadia, I think there's. Hi, Nadia. I'm
Hello,
in the same
Nadia.
situation on some Crohn's and just come out of 3 weeks of COVID symptoms. Oh,
Oh,
so
I'm
she,
sorry.
another fellow person,
Yeah.
Crohn's person. So she said, will you still shield for the next 3 weeks, seeing as you most certainly have already had COVID?
It's a very interesting question, one that I actually don't know the answer to. I have been thinking about how I can seek advice on that, and I was actually having the conversation with my mum yesterday about whether it would be okay if I went to the shops now. I have left the house to go for a walk, a very isolated walk with no one around me. I don't think I feel comfortable going to the shops yet, just because I don't know whether I've had it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I've had it, but I don't know if I could get it again. I don't. It's a tough one. I don't fully know the answer to that one. I guess it's kind of what you feel comfortable with. I mean, I think ultimately we don't fully have the data to know whether you can get it again. So I am erring on the side of caution.
Yeah, I think it's follow the guidelines.
Yeah.
And if you've been told to shield, then it's probably, even if you think that you've had it, then it's probably best to still heed that advice and still follow that information, just to
Agreed.
be on the safe side. Definitely better to be safe than sorry on this.
100%.
And another question has just come in. Oh, my face is really close to the camera. You said earlier to listen to your body. Could you please expand on this? That's from Amy.
Hello, Amy.
I think maybe that's me that said that. So hi, Amy. So when I say listen to your body, I mean, I think that it's really common for us now to lead such a busy life, and maybe less so at the moment, or maybe you're someone whose work's got even busier, but we go through life and we're so busy going from this, that and the other, and we just forget to kind of check in, and for some people it can be that we just don't even realize that we're hungry, or that we don't realize we're tired, or we realize we're tired but we just like push on and carry on. But I think our bodies are very, very clever machines, I suppose, and will tell us when it needs to slow down. And I think what we need to do is to make sure that we're listening to our bodies, and if we're feeling a bit tired one day, then maybe try not to do as much that day, because our body's saying, hang on a minute, like it's time to rest a bit now. I'm feeling a bit tired and I need the energy to do other stuff. So I think that's what I meant in terms of that saying. I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
Yeah, it's something that it's a concept that I've kind of learned over the years. Like if you told me listen to your body when I was a teenager, I'd be like, what do you mean? And now I've sort of grown into my like early late 20s. I really understand that concept, and I am very in tune with how I feel, how my Crohn's is feeling, what I need to do about that particularly. You know, do I need to work from home today? Did I say I was going to go out tonight? Actually, no, I don't think I should do that. Do I need to feel like I need to eat loads of fruit and veg today? Do I feel like I need to eat beige food today? Like, it's just tuning into what you feel like you need and just feeding your body in whatever way that is.
Yeah, I think it's that's something that I totally agree with you, though actually it's something that if you'd said to me in my teens or even early 20s to listen to your body, then I would have been like, I don't even know what that is or whatever. But actually just taking time to say, like, how am I feeling today? And if you've got plans and you're feeling a bit tired or whatever it is that you're feeling like or not feeling like doing, to really listen to that, because it's when we push through those feelings and ignore them. So if you're feeling tired or you've had a particularly stressful time perhaps, and you've got kind of grumbling symptoms perhaps, then if you then kind of push through that and you put your body under more stress and you don't give it the time that it needs to rest and repair, that's when you perhaps put yourself at risk of worsening your symptoms or a flare perhaps or something. It's having that kind of counteracting that stress that you're under, I suppose, and making sure that you're doing enough to make sure that you're supporting your body. And particularly in IBD, I think we need to focus on that more, is helping to control that stress, making sure we're getting a good enough amount of sleep, and eating a good balanced diet to help give us the nutrients that our bodies and our gut and our immune system need to function properly. There's some other questions 100%. That have come in now.
Go for it.
Let's see what we've got. Okay. Okay, so we've got Mary here. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
So hold on, someone's like, there's more questions coming in. So she's currently suffering from a Crohn's flare-up and cannot take any medication at the moment with what's going on. Okay, is there any advice you would give me to help me deal with my flare-ups? I guess that's quite a specific question. I'm not sure what the kind of situation is around you not being able to have your medication during that time. What do you, Bryony, is there anything that you think that you can?
I think that, like you said, flare-ups are very individual, and no two people with IBD will necessarily experience a similar flare-up. So I wouldn't really want to offer any specific advice, especially as you said, I don't know the scenario as to why or what's going on with your medication at the moment. So maybe worth a call to your IBD nurse if you have one, or even a call to your consultant. It sounds like a conversation needs to be had, or is happening, but maybe an IBD nurse, if you have one, would maybe be a good shout.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Mary. Definitely, if you can, try and get in touch with your IBD nurse, or your gastroenterologist or consultant, or perhaps even your GP, and try and perhaps get a call with them to see if there's anything they can do support-wise, because they'll know your condition. It's very difficult for us to know what's going on with you, but we definitely wish you all the best and hope that you feel better soon.
Yeah. Definitely.
What else have we got? Okay, and another one from Amy. Is there any advice that you would give to a newly diagnosed person? My consultant hasn't really given me much information, just to take medication and work out what foods upset you. Is that, shall I go on this one and give some advice, or not some advice? I guess what we have to say with the stuff here is that any advice, or not advice, anything that we say here shouldn't be kind of substituted for any medical advice, but if you're newly diagnosed, it can be helpful. There's places that you can go to read up about information about what you've been diagnosed with. So Crohn's and Colitis UK is really helpful. Also, IBD Relief is a really helpful place for resources as well. And Crohn's and Colitis have a Facebook forum as well, where you can meet like-minded people and also to kind of chat amongst groups of people who have the same thing. If they've suggested about working out what foods upset you, The thing with that is I would suggest to write a food diary, and see what foods you're having, and then so food and symptom diary. So write down the foods that you're having and how you feel each day, how you feel after each meal, and that can help to see if there are any patterns with any symptoms that you're experiencing. But one thing I would say is really, really important, and I would say it to everyone, is don't remove any main food groups, or don't remove any major sources of nutrition from your diet without consulting someone like a nutritionist or a dietitian, because we really want to make sure that you're not putting yourself at risk of any nutrient deficiencies, which is common in IBD anyway. I'm not sure whether you have Crohn's or colitis, so depending on what you have will depend on what deficiencies in nutrients you might have in terms of where the inflammation is in the gut. So get some help and advice if you can, before you remove any food groups, so you don't put yourself at risk of malnutrition, because it's something that people with IBD are at risk of anyway. So we want to make sure that we're avoiding that. I don't know if there's anything, Bryony, that you found that's been helpful.
I would just maybe suggest, if you are seeing a consultant, which you are, as I've seen in your message, it might be worth, when you next have an appointment, asking if you can see a dietitian, because quite a lot of the gastro teams have a dietitian that work alongside them. So I have seen a dietitian when I've requested to see one, and I've done the elemental diet a few times. And when you come off the elemental diet, you have to introduce food groups. And I did find along that process that I had a few intolerances that kind of helped relieve some of my symptoms, because I also sometimes get bloating and pain, which may be more associated with IBS symptoms, I guess. And having a dietitian to kind of support me along that journey was really, really helpful. And actually, that, like Clemmy says, is the only way that you should be doing any sort of food elimination anyway. So yeah, if you've got an appointment with a consultant, or you've got an email address, or you've got an IBD line, might be worth asking if you can see a dietitian.
Okay, I think that's really good. I'm just seeing if, I think we did say 45 minutes, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we did.
We're now at 45 minutes.
I don't mind if there's yeah, I know.
Let's see what we've got here. Okay, so we've got a question here from, let's hang on, sorry. There's some quite specific questions coming through. It's really difficult and also not ethical for me to give kind of specific nutrition advice, sadly, over these things. So I think maybe there's one about what are my thoughts on keto. I mean, where I'm not really sure we've got enough time for it, but
we'll do a whole Instagram live just on that.
We could do a whole Instagram live on that, and that could be opening a big can of worms.
Yeah.
That's Nadia. So I think perhaps I'll do a post on or a blog on the different diets and on keto. I would say that things like ketogenic diets, particularly ketogenic diets, keto diet is actually is used in the NHS setting for children with epilepsy, but it's been adopted by lots and lots of people as a weight loss tool, and as seems to be by the CrossFit community. It's a big one, but what you end up doing is you end up reducing fiber quite a lot if you don't do it properly. And as we know, fiber, although in some instances with people with risk of disruption or during flare-ups, maybe it's not the right thing, but when you're in remission, it is important to eat a higher fiber diet to help support the bacteria that we know help to keep us healthy, and we know that that shifts in the bacterial balance is something that can perhaps cause IBD and maybe a component in flares as well. So if you end up following a diet that reduces some important carbohydrates which provide that fiber, then it might not be the right thing. So, but I tell you what I'll do, there's so much I could say about it, so I'm going to do a post on it. So I'll make a note to myself, and I'll do that over the coming weeks, and answer that a bit more thoroughly and go through the different types of diets. And yeah, it's quite a specific one, but I'll stop talking about it now. So Bryony, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, so I think unless anyone has any more questions, we did say we'd cap it at 45 minutes.
Yeah, we did.
And we're a bit over that now. But I just wanted to say from me, thank you very much to everyone who has tuned in this evening and asked questions, and also a huge thank you so much to Bryony for sharing your story with everyone. I really hope that it will help to put people's minds at rest a little bit, or at least be a little bit of a comfort to people, having heard your positive experience and the fact that you've got through it. And hopefully people will have some little tidbits as well to take away with them to help them through time as well. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I hope that, yeah, hearing a positive story is welcome at these times.
Yeah,
and
definitely. We're all about positivity. Yeah, I hope everyone's okay, and keep well, stay well. And if you have any more questions after this, then do either direct message either of us, and perhaps we can do some kind of blog or something like that if there's lots of the same questions that come up. So do drop us a message and let us know. But thank you all, and have a lovely evening, and we'll see you all again soon.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks so much, Bryony.
Bye.
Take care.